Hey guys, we're live. We're trying out a new kind of live show format. We'll see how this goes. This is a test.
Oh my god.
This is a test of the live show format.
And as per the topic, we're both in the future, so hi. Things are going well from undisclosed year, so don't worry about it.
Exactly. Things are good. But anyway, welcome back, guys. Today we're talking about time travel, but we kind of have it broken up into a few different sections, and we're going to try this way of doing some lives and see how it works. See if you guys enjoy it. So let us know. Yeah, so obviously our first poll is up. Does time travel make sense in Trek? Go vote on that poll. We will have that discussion in just a second here, as soon as I think Sam has to share first.
Yep, I'll see you in a second.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you guys to hit like. 18 of you here, 11 likes. Let's try to get those likes up to 20 if we can. And by all means, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Also, even if you were subscribed, check to make sure you're still subscribed. That's a YouTube thing. They tend to unsubscribe people. So yes, hitting like is a good way to help us out. Also, click notification bell icon to all so you don't miss any edited content or live content that we do, as we do a lot of each, and we want you guys to be part of it because we love our community. Also, click the join button. There's a join button down there where you guys can join the channel, get on the Discord, have some really good conversations with other members as well as us, and have a good time. So consider joining. You can do that on YouTube here, or head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. It's another way to support us on a monthly basis if you choose to. And yeah, we hope to see you guys being channel members, because that'd be awesome. Also, do not forget to just click the links down below to the Teespring and the TeePublic store. We got some cool Trekyards merch we want you guys to check out. And yeah. So anyway, do the things. Also, super chatting if you can. Super chatting with your thoughts on the different topics we're talking about. We have a few different ones this time. We're talking about whether time travel makes sense in Trek. What was the first use of time travel? We have a cool ship we're going to look at, a time ship, as shown on the thumbnail here. We're going to review some time travel episodes and kind of talk about our favorites. So yeah, we've got a few different things going on, and we'll see how this format goes. Let us know. So, welcome back, Sam.
Hello.
Hello. 29 of you here now, 16 likes. Hit the like button, guys. Let's get those likes up to at least 20. We can do it. So, as per the poll, does time travel make sense in Trek? Go vote. We want to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I think generally speaking, time travel in Trek comes about in a very naturalistic kind of way and makes a lot of sense in the story. There are very few Star Trek stories, in my opinion, time travel related, that don't make sense or don't really work. And there's a lot of them, by the way. But yeah, so that's kind of the first thing we'll be discussing. Does time travel make sense in Trek? And I think more often than not, the answer is yes. Sometimes I think it is a story crutch of sorts, but it's also sci-fi, and I think time travel and sci-fi is really fun. Because I find that the time travel stories are some of my favorite ones, honestly. Whereas a lot of people do say, I don't need time travel, or it's another time episode. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that time travel is like the better storytelling elements of Trek, or is it a crutch?
Well, it varies on who's creating it, of course. It's been some of the best and some of the worst. Picard Season 2 doesn't make a lot of sense structurally, and then you get total rejiggers, yes, Enterprise, etc., that are just a new way of doing something that works in its construct and then never necessarily used again. Or things like Shattered, which again is a time travel sort of, but not really, and in the way it's formed, it works in that one niche. It's when you have these grander things that don't make quite as much sense. But I think it depends on the writer, or if it's even the important catalyst at all. Like I said, Shattered, it's not about the time travel, but that is the crutch of the story. Or something like the episode, Time and Timeless, for example. Time travel. That is the story and the cause and the result and the end and the message and the. So some are done very well, and it's always fun to see future, past, and whatnot. But yeah, sometimes it just makes you think, well, I think probably newer writing than older writing.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind too that when we're talking time travel, you include episodes like The Visitor, where Jake Sisko gets old. Sisko is kind of trapped in time and shows up occasionally. That's still technically a time travel episode, and it's funny that that one and City on the Edge of Forever, and to a lesser extent The Inner Light, which is kind of time travel-y because he gets old, he experiences a whole lifetime, and then kind of travels back to the moment that it happened. Those are some of the best Star Trek episodes, or at least science fiction writing. The Visitor won quite a few awards for its story. I wouldn't say that's necessarily one of my favorite ones, though. Like, I like stuff like Yesterday's Enterprise or Trials and Tribulations, stuff like that. That kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say fan servicey because they're not. they're using the established history and stuff quite well to integrate a new story. So.
Well, there's a big difference between a time travel story, and obviously using it slightly liberally with how you expressed, but I'll reframe this in a second. It's the difference between a story where you go back into the Roman era. There's a limit to how cool that can be from a Trek perspective. Now, I mean, narratively it could be amazing, but the Trek perspective is somewhat limited. As in Guardian Edge of Forever, right? It's a situational piece until you think about it, but really it's just about them in the past. And then you get The Visitor, where you're using only Trek elements and seeing future Trek elements. So it's not time travel, but it's using those multi-time elements to get double canon, as it were. That's the bonus fun that you don't get from going back in time to something more real, because you just, okay, that is this. Versus future, or like I said, timeless, this Enterprise, all good things. Not all good things. Endgame, you get an extra Trekness to it by using time travel, versus just a time travel story, more like a Doctor Who, where you just go into the past, etc.
Yeah, and then there's the predestination paradox things, where if one thing didn't happen, then something else couldn't have happened. I always like watching Trouble with Tribbles, and just kind of picturing them in the lineup, like O'Brien and Bashir, even though that's not how originally it was. It must have been, though, because they went back in time. Like, it's the temporal mechanics thing, and they say this a lot of times in Trek. Temporal mechanics gives me a headache. Everybody complains about it for some reason. And it's so much a trope in Star Trek that there was even the relativity and the time cops, the temporal agents, which I think was a really interesting aspect, which I think should be expanded upon. I would love a temporal agents series where you could literally visit a different era of Trek every episode if you wanted to.
It'd be the most expensive show ever made, though, because you have to make everything each time.
Well, yeah, exactly, but it would be amazing. Come on. So
if only fan films could do such things where you have all the props and costumes. Yeah, and when you get to temporal wars and such, it makes because obviously the base premise is time one linear before and after, in which case you can change the before subtly to still have the same after, because big things aren't changing. Or is it multiple universes where you're then erasing a timeline and restarting from there, and then things can branch in their own way. Your original timeline still exists somewhere, but you're no longer going into that, which means that every time any hero resets a timeline, is always creating variants, and we're looking at the 85th variant of whatever. It's confusing and convoluted. It means no stakes, because then the further, say for example, if a 27th century person moves back into the 21st century, changes something, then how is the audience meant to really sympathise then when they're back in the 27th century if you know that 700 years of side effects have happened? None of the people you knew are probably alive in the same way. None of the planets are the same. It's going to ripple down, especially on Earth. And obviously, if a different president is in charge, then Zephyr Cochrane might not have done his warp jump, which means da-da-da. And when things are just the same, it's like, okay, that doesn't work really without making those things tiny. And things can be tiny, but those are hard to justify as well. So it's hard to have consequences with time travel, but also you want that one timeline, because then it's like, these are the people. But really, really it's unlikely to think that a 20th century ship really went back and the tech in it was made to use microchips. It's like, well, probably unlikely, because without that, history would be very different. But it had to have happened to get the tech then, because they knew about him. So they came from that universe. Well, then,
that's the other problem that doesn't necessarily make sense, is that you've every time you go back, you got different branches. Therefore, you start splintering. You get different timelines, different events. You create multiverses. So it's a little bit of a, if you want one prime timeline, every time you go back in time, you've just changed that because. So yeah, it's one of those situations where it's damned if you do kind of situation, right? So
that's why the Temple Wars can't make sense, because you have to have these factions that are outside of time with temporal shields, but then as soon as the war starts happening, then everyone's doing everything, and the time is so screwy that even the moment that Daniels went back and talked to Archer, if all the time got changed, then he wouldn't exist anymore, or Archer wouldn't exist anymore. Like as soon as and you can't keep. Now that's when I believe in one episode they express that time is like a wave. It takes a little while to hit everything. So if you change the focal point, the other things will happen. So of course, if it's near you, it affects you more. But if it's like the NX era, it takes a few conceptual days, years, whatever to change. But that in itself creates problems.
Yeah. Classic for real though, gifted 1 Trekyards membership. Thank you so much. So Dan Ben, you're now a member of the channel for a month. So enjoy the membership, even though you're always here. Let's move on to our next topic that we're going to talk about then. What was the first use of time travel in Trek? Do you have an answer to that question? And I don't mean chronologically, I mean like show-wise. So it's TOS, but which one, do you know?
I mean, it's got to be before Guardian.
The answer kind of annoyed me a bit, because the true answer is the Naked Time, where they at the end they reset the engines and go back a couple of days. That's counted as the first one. But the actual first real time travel one was Tomorrow Is Yesterday, where they go back with Christopher. And then of course you get the Guardian or the City on the Edge of Forever, things like that. But yeah, like Tomorrow Was Yesterday was an accident. They got slingshot around the sun accidentally and were in Earth's orbit, or in its atmosphere actually. But yeah, so let me just take a look here at the because we got Naked Time, Tomorrow Was Yesterday, then the City on the Edge of Forever, and then Assignment Earth. They actually went back deliberately on purpose, and that was going to be the spin-off show for Gary 7, but they went back to make sure that things happened the way they were supposed to observe Earth history, and then they kind of had to deal with Gary 7. So
nice to have a precedent to time travel's origin.
Yeah.
If they were that nervous about it, and that because if it's that new to them, they could do this because they were certainly surprised. Then for them to be sent on a mission to go back and look at the past makes a lot of sense. It was up to this point an unachievable thing, and somewhat quote unquote easy in TOS, obviously retconned later. But I'm sure there's a risk margin. I mean, any time you do anything, there's a risk margin. So I'm guessing there's a reasonable risk that something might happen that cause the sun's gravity to either fling us wrongly or hurt the ship.
Yeah.
But the ability to if you ask the crew, would you like to go and see the past? You probably get quite a few people saying, yeah, you know what, that's worth a 26% risk. It's like risk is their business, as it were.
Well, I can understand the logic. Like they accidentally got flung back in time in Tomorrow Was Yesterday, and they're like, okay, maybe we can recreate that. Let's go observe some history. This is like Starfleet mentality, right? So they choose to do that. And there's an interesting book. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it talks about specifically the engines on the Enterprise had a misalignment that allowed this to happen, that ship could do it. And so that's why nobody else was just doing this randomly just because. And Scotty was able to recreate that in the Bird of Prey for Star Trek 4, which I kind of like that premise because it kind of grounds it a little bit. Because if anybody can do this, you just slingshot around the sun, wipe out people when they're, wipe out the Romulans when they're primitive or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Well, don't do that because that would also wipe out the Vulcans, but regardless, I can see the mentality behind it. I love that the accident was first, and then there was a deliberate, we're going back to observe time episode. And you think they probably learned that there were risks involved with that, so they decided to stop it.
Well, I guess there's a risk factor. They had to risk it all for the whales, but after that, they might have said, you just got 2 heads in a row. Next time, you might get tailed, and then you blow up the ship. Like, imagine a 50-50 chance, right?
Yeah.
It sounds good if the universe is depending on you, but if it's like, 50% chance will blow up, it's like, let's maybe just not do that. And of course, they probably also mathed the chance of affecting the timeline, and in fact, maybe even. Well, this is slightly hard to explain, but perhaps after the whales, they did some sort of temporal look. So of course, the bird of prey would have unaltered looking at Earth's history, maybe, and perhaps present day Earth was, oh wow, Gillian losing it from history. They worked out that these 1,200 people died for various small reasons, and it's like, we had to bring it here to save everybody, but we moved one thing, and that bin guy that got flung over from that one bird of prey launch, that guy was meant to cure cancer. We did it later, it's fine, but like we've lost 10,000 people because of this thing. Don't do it again, but we're not going to punish you. Now, obviously, that would then pull even bigger consequences in. You can't really go to that deep. But if you're starting a brand new sci-fi universe, that's an interesting concept. What risk and what reward is worth changing, and you say, this person is so meaningless, we can kill him, it's fine, but it will cause problems later, good or bad, and that would be a pretty bold sci-fi story, especially if you take the same ship back in time with the original timeline's data. So that was always unchanged because it's staying, it's not being affected by going to a new timeline. That could be a sci-fi concept by itself, actually.
Yeah, it hurts the brain to think about what you can do with time travel, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's why you just got to accept that time sort of not necessarily heals itself, but sort of refreshes. But then it's hard to justify. And Star Trek 09, the Kelvin being destroyed makes everyone get born at different points. They're not. Like, if you have people who their parents have multiple names in their head of their baby, and when they see the person, well, if they're born 10 years earlier, they wouldn't be in the same brain state with the same names. It wouldn't happen, so it would not be the same people. There's zero chance of that mathematically. So, yeah.
Well, Felix throws in $5 and says, who gives a shit? So long as they tell good stories. Time travel is just an element of the story. 100% agree. That's what we're talking about today, just the different aspects of time travel. I personally really love time travel episodes of Trek. So, yeah.
Well, I guess as a writer of Trek, if you don't give a shit, then there's no stakes. Because you just go back and do whatever you want, and then it doesn't matter. And if you know it doesn't matter, then even the internal logic of a fan film, why bother watching, right? And if they don't care, then as with many different things in Trek, someone said one thing once, and now that's the law. But that one person didn't think about it first. Now that's locked in. It's like, so if only they'd thought about it, we could have had like the Klingons' Discovery, right? Luckily, they've not used them again. But some person made a choice to make a bad decision, and now they've stuck with them for a while. So,
Yeah. And Classic Real says, don't forget the animated series episode Yesteryear where they go through the Guardian of Forever again. Yes, that's a great episode. That is actually one of the only episodes of the animated series that was considered quote-unquote canon for a long time. But yeah. So now if we talk about the first instances of time travel in Trek, and chronologically, it'd definitely be Enterprise with Daniels and the Temporal War, but that opens up
chronologically because he's 31st century.
Yes, but that opens up a whole new can of worms as to how do we know somebody didn't go back prior to that and do something like. So yeah, the first instance of it's relative, as is time. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the adage: once you invent time travel, you've always invented time travel.
Yeah. Which
means it's always been invented. Which is why it's odd that you can say, oh well, if a genius scientist says, oh, if I invent time travel, I'll transport myself back to this moment, tell myself. Oh, so actually close the loop instantly because you can kind of, but obviously future you'll decide to do it, but blah blah blah.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, a lot of the best episodes of Trek are time related.
Because they use multiple eras, they use multiple vibes. It lets you play in a way that normal shows don't. And I don't think either of us are as into the moral episodes, the preachy ones, and time travel have some fun.
Yeah. All right, well, let's close out this poll real quick. Does time travel in Trek make sense? So the options were yes, no, most of the time, or I could do without it. most of the time wins with 57%, which I think I totally agree with. Second place is yes with 21%, no with 13%, and then I could do without it at 10%. So I'm glad there's the minority is the people that don't really enjoy them, because I think if they're well crafted, they're some of the best stories, honestly. So we'll end that poll real quick. Now we're going to move on to another aspect of our show. We are Trekyards. We love ships. And there was a time, long time ago, where we did an episode specifically on a time travel ship that not many people necessarily know of, and that is in this thumbnail that you see before you, well, you saw before you. And that is the USS Premonition. So this was one we did,
7.5 years ago.
Yeah, episode 197 of Trekyards. I'll share the link in the chat so you guys can check it out. But we're going to talk about the Premonition for a few minutes here. As when you think of time travel ships, you think of the relativity, you think of stuff like that. But the Premonition was one of the more early ones, because it was from Star Trek Armada.
Well, that was after all the shows, so it was one of the latest ones.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that would be one of the recent ones.
Okay. But it's got a really cool design, which we're going to take a look at and kind of talk about right now, kind of like an impromptu mission briefing.
And in fact, I certainly wouldn't abstractly accept the fact that I'm Trekyards, but when you say time travel, how many of you in the chat actually think time travel ship? Because there's ships that accidentally travel in time, but how many ships can deliberately travel in time in Trek? It's quite an undone thing until you get the time cops. Even the 31st century guys, they didn't have a time ship, they just traveled, they beamed. So to have a ship that deliberately can travel in time is quite an oddity, and this is one of the exceptions. And of course it was in Armada 2. No, Armada 1, sorry, this is the big Armada 1. Yeah. After the initial mission where you're in the Briar Patch in the Baku, which tells you how old the game is because it was around that time, then this ship comes in, and it's, funnily enough, it's from very minimally in the future, which is the slight gimmick, is it's a time travel ship being designed and built then, that in the story you meet before it would have gone back in time to see you at the start of the game. So it's a fun, small paradox where, like a week from then, the Borg kill everybody, which means you, the player, got 1 week to stop them. Oh dear. I think it's blown up in the scene as well. No, it does. No, it lingers with you. And it's basically just a souped-up sovereign. But when I was able to get access to this years ago, I said, Stuart, we have to do this ship. And I was very proud to look at it, because I had never seen it in HD, let alone this up close. Because it was an Armada 2 model. So it was really not designed for this. But there's some things to improve it and such. And it isn't just a sovereign, because we both said, it's a sovereign. It's just, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of different features of it. It definitely looks like a dreadnought sovereign at first glance, because it has the third thing on top, which seems like another nacelle. Well, let's get to Felix's $20 super chat. Kelvin timeline upset many, but the stories were good. The Daniel stuff did not make sense. The stories were not good either. But cliffhanger, the resolve in season 4 made up for it. Yeah, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and a lot of times they write themselves into corners with time travel stuff.
And I agree. One of the Kelvin stories was good.
Yeah.
And Daniels was difficult. They planned a larger arc, conceptually, but they realized quite early on, this is very hard to do. It's yes. This is a very hard arc to realize. And they moved away from it before they could finish it, at least satisfactorily.
Yeah. So no, but anyway, getting back to the Premonition. Sorry. Jeez. Obviously, the center pod on this is the temporal device of some kind, but it is not just a cut and paste sovereign, which I shared the link to our episode there. I'm sure this is one we're going to revisit, because we can do it a lot better now, and we likely will. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're subscribed and notified. You know the routine. But no, there's a lot of subtle little differences to it, and we kind of cover those in our mission briefing. But to talk about it now, I really like the look of this ship. I'm a big fan of dreadnoughts and 3 nacelle designs, and just that thing on top just adds a certain punch to it for me. So,
although in my 2024 knowledge, I say it's not at all a sovereign. It's not they tweaked it. It's that they said, let's take the general shape of a sovereign and do everything else different. Because there isn't a single detail that's the same. I'm looking, at least the top of that view, there's not a single detail that remains intact in the sovereign. So they knew, and again, 2024 brain, I have to give more credit for not being lazy. And, you know, even like the escape pods, I see a logic behind their placement. They're giant phaser strips. You know, I see, oh, okay, that's what they're going for, at least conceptually. They didn't have to do that. But of course, it was the primary mission drive for the game, and I appreciate they did it properly. Because if it had just been a sovereign with a purple nacelle, I would have accepted it. I would not have been thrilled by it. This is actually far more interesting.
Yeah, and I think because it was a game, they probably did use a base sovereign model and then modified it, maybe.
I mean, they're so low poly, it wouldn't take long to make a new model. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's nothing I see that's the same, so I doubt they did. Like I say, apart from the silhouette, they probably said, what is everyone's favourite big movie ship? Sovereign. Okay, let's make it a Sovereign light. And then as people look closely, okay, cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of differences when you start. If you actually stack it beside a Sovereign, you'll see all the changes, especially the hull geometry. That secondary.
We do last time?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know if I had a Sovereign accurate enough to make that deduction.
Yeah, I don't know. Because look at that secondary hull geometry. It cuts in different.
Yeah, that might have been kit bashed, that bottom 15%, right? And then stretched. But yeah, to have such a giant neck, you might think is kind of awkward, and it kind of is. It feels balanced with the curvature of the pylons and the longer nacelles, and and look at them. I
like the unique registry of NCV as well. NCV-05. Wonder how many of these they actually built in their canon.
Well, I thought
what does the NCV stand for?
I thought this was the first in the game. And in fact, a meta, they use the blue Bassard, a deflector, which was part of the promo art. Not the yellow.
It was yellow. It was funny, yeah.
I don't know if I knew that last time we looked at this.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if you haven't played Star Trek Armada, I suggest playing it because it's a really great game, and this was a fun little addition if you are a fan of ships.
Well, it was a great catalyst, and rarely in Trek do we see, although Endgame had probably just happened, so I guess they inspired, but it's rarely to get someone from another future telling you to be concerned. Normally it's you moving through time, so to have you're all doomed in 7 days, and it's like, oh no. Also, we can't time travel, so we can't affect it. If you are the one doing the mission, then you have the time travel ability normally. But they were kind of stuck into this big problem.
Yeah. But you get to meet the captain of the ship. He comes through with an urgent request at first, and it's really great having that as the reason for the mission. And here too, if you look at this, I mean, the impulse engines being in the neck like that, I think is a really great addition, as opposed to being on the saucer like the Sovereign.
Yeah, it feels like the Archer from Renegades. And links in. I even pretty much like the stepped look. It's odd, but it gives it a unique something. Because this does feel like an armoured up, but not in a tactical armour. Just like we need bulk, we need mass, we need whatever. It's an interesting approach. It is just a very faithfully Federation ship, and yet its mission profile is so radically different. Yet there's not like really weird tendrils of this and glowing bits of that, except the focus tech bit. Now perhaps that implies it was a ship that was designed to be another branch of Sovereign. I'm sure there's several variations made at the time. Let's shove a drive on, very possible, but maybe it was all custom built. Don't know.
Yeah, like those nacelles look totally different.
Yeah,
not just armored up sections. Yeah.
It's a very effective use of the wheel and the box, and yet looking like the wheel and still being in the box, but still actually being totally different. It's hard to do this sort of faithfulness, because you want to be creative. And this one, I don't know who designed this, but I commend whoever did it at the time. It is, stands out well.
Yes. So yeah, if you haven't, if you're just learning about the the Premonition now because of this, by all means, like I said, check out the link that I shared earlier to our episode 197, where we take a look at it. But it is one we will be revisiting and doing in a little bit of a better fashion, I think.
Yeah, we're at a point when the L cards we had to render in 720p anyway, because that's all we had, and the images were lower because the amount of stuff we were doing, releasing, because it was like that, this might have been the 3 or 4 times a week videos when we had all the ships in the world. I only could render so much in so much time, so everything was limited resolution. And these are new HD renders for this, but I look forward to looking at more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, check it out. And
we did compare to a Sovereign. Yeah, okay, there is. Well, bad lighting for the Premonition for some reason.
So go watch old Trekyards and get a laugh. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Released 7 years ago. November 16th, 2016.
Wow. Wow.
Just a bit.
Yeah, because this will be 10 years for Trekyards this year, so we've been around a while.
We should have a 10-year anniversary video for this, just for the lols. Like, hey, time travel! Imagine if you re-release the first version again on 10-year anniversary of it. Just like, hey, we're back. Nothing's changed.
Hey, that'd be kind of cool.
And the last comment was 1 month ago from Charles Landers. NCC 1701F Enterprise Star.
Interesting. All right. Well, we're going to put up a new poll now and move on with the discussion a bit. So the new poll is up. Which series did time travel the best? Now, there are only 4 options available for a poll, so I put in 4. Go select from those ones. But, yeah.
And it's interesting how it only has 121 comments after 7 years.
How many views, though?
Oh, 20,000.
Because it's one of the first things that comes up when you type in USS Premonition. Matthew DeFreitas, member for 20 months at the rank of lieutenant, says, from above, the Premonition has a bit of a protostar vibe when its third nacelle is revealed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah. He also goes on to say, Samuel, you should do a Prodigy short with this ship and the protostar.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
All right, so now we're going to take some time and talk about...
Stuart, I haven't got time to talk about time. Come on.
We're at... What?
Because you're alive.
But we're talking about time.
Yes. And
so,
of course,
yeah,
guys, jump in any super chats you want to be part of the discussion.
Because now is when you can really put in your input. Because we're going to be talking about basically just time travel episodes in general. Go through a list of them and kind of discuss them. And we're going to tell you our thoughts on them, kind of pick our best and our least favorites. So I think that's probably a good idea, considering what we're talking about. So, but yeah, go vote on the poll, hit the like button, super chat in with your favorite time travel episode, your least favorite, why they are that, and yeah, let us know. So we'll just go through and list each one for each series, I guess, and then kind of talk about them. The Naked Time I don't consider a time travel episode, even though at the end they just restart the engines and jump back like 3 days or something.
Well, it's like a Superman 3, whatever, time travel movie, because he goes back and resets.
Yeah.
It's like time travel's in it, but it's not a time travel movie. It's like Die Hard and Christmas. It's not a Christmas movie, even though Christmas is in it. But then the joke is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It's an action movie.
Tomorrow is Yesterday, where they get accidentally thrown back in time with John Christopher, and they have to get the footage of the Enterprise. It being a UFO, they have to get that, so it's not they don't alter anything. They got to put Christopher back. It's a pretty good one, honestly. It's one of my favorite TOS episodes, and I love how they're like, "Oh, you make no relevant contribution, so it doesn't matter." And like, "Oh, I forgot to look up his offspring." You have to go back.
Where's Zorro? We need her.
Yet.
But
I love how he also doesn't remember anything, that's where it gets sketchy for me, because they beam him back into his old self in the plane.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like, how does that quite work? But anyway,
like it's fine if you beam him back the second after he leaves, but then he'd have his memories. But I mean, exactly. Of course you can wipe memories in the 22nd century. Of course you can, right? I mean, it's not a problem. They can do warp drive. Short-term memories are fine. And how long short-term memory? Don't know, but probably fine. And yeah, definitely a good episode. It feels fresh for the time. I'm sure they just happen to have all those uniforms from the other show on the lot, so it feels quite authentic. And you know, they
exactly
did it because they had it available. You know, they had a fighter pilot. I
think a lot of the time travel episodes use that. They have it available, or it's just modern day.
Or it's modern day, yeah. And I think the fact that the pilot is such a good actor, he sold it super well with a lot of depth. That helps as well. Because it can be a very flat episode. Just it's a simple concept, right? Novel at the time. Now it wouldn't fly. You know, imagine just DS9 is going back in time and just stopping a guy from knowing that you're there. It's like, okay, where's the story? So there's a story, and it's not a story. You know.
Yeah.
Trek Short Cynic can do that. It would be interesting enough. But the character's good, the story's good. And of course, back in the day, that was a hard sci-fi story. Proper, like a book. You know, it was like it made sense because there's a lot less media around.
And Felix throws in $5 and says TOS because it was not used for a purpose. It was a stumble into it. That was, to me, a better story. Yes, and a lot of times those are like, we've stumbled into this time thing. We need to minimize our footprint or delete something that we've already done. But no, there were a few TOS where they deliberately went back to do something and then, ran into like Gary 7 or something.
The thing about stumbled into it, though, you can't accidentally have 12 accidental, totally not on purpose, accidental time travel things every new show. So unless you
there's a lot per series, by the way.
Sorry?
There's a lot per series.
Well,
a lot of time.
But then I wouldn't really include Shattered as time travel. It's not. It's a Shattered ship universe story. It is, but it isn't, right? So therefore, if you take that as a quantifier, it isn't. So
it's like Face the Strange, in that regard. Like Face the Discovery one where they're jumping through time this last season. Yeah. It's the same. It's a Shattered thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like it is. They are traveling through time, but it's not that. That one's a bit more. That is the point of it, though. Shattered. It's about the characters. That's a tricky one.
But next up is The City on the Edge of Forever, which is deemed by many people as one of the best episodes of Star Trek, even non-Star Trek fans. But to me, it's just really fantastic sci-fi storytelling. Mm-hmm. Good episode, though. But you could literally cut Star Trek out of the equation, tell the exact same story with different characters, and have it be just as good.
From the Star Force.
Just as impactful, yeah.
Captain Donald D. Avenger of Star Force. Yes, Lazarus. Sure, go ahead.
Yes.
I mean, but that's just again super simple story, but everyone's working on fire on that. All performances are super great. It's sweet. It's bittersweet. It's memorable. Now, obviously, it's even more powerful. In that back then, it was a slight time travel. Now it's a really far back time travel. You know, it's like in Star Trek 4. Like they were going back to present day, but now it feels like, oh look, the quaint old times. That wasn't how it was made. It was made to be a modern day joke, but now it's a period piece. So the further away we go from these things, you know, the world wars and such, you know, very, very soon no one will remember the world wars of any kind, and therefore that will be a really period piece, you know. So yeah. I think the weight of it is changing as we go
on. Next up is Assignment Earth, where they deliberately go back in time to monitor Earth's history, and they run into Gary 7, who has to make sure that this almost disaster happens to kind of curb man's space enthusiasm a little bit. So yeah, this was a good one, and yes, one of the first instance of actually deliberately going back to observe time. So with the slingshot effect.
Although my brain instantly said not a great time travel episode, though.
No, it's not. It's a good pilot.
Because it's very much it's obviously it's not really a story. It's a different thing with a different thing, but it's very much because that's the thing. The present day is the present day. Our characters are coming into the story, which is not about the Enterprise. Do we even go to the Enterprise at any point? Yes, we do. But
Gary 7 beams aboard,
but not in the present, of course. It's
exactly.
It's like Intimate Darkly, like it's its own thing, happens to coincide with other its own things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All Our Yesterdays, which is the Tavacron that sends these people back to the past because their planet is being destroyed. It's a fantastic concept, but it's not really impactful to anything Starfleet related. Just they get thrown through it and they have to get back. But I love the idea that a planet is going to die because its sun's going to get destroyed, and the populace goes back in its own past to. That would cause a lot of problems, you'd think. I don't know. It's a great idea.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed the episode because conceptually it's super fun. Unless the you die because your planet dies, then going back to the past and living there is fine because pocket reality, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think they'd say, is it really time travel, or is it kind of? Because then, because as soon as you send people back, they'd affect everything else. So it's kind of like almost pocket realities.
Yeah, don't know. It might actually alter the future to the fact where these people wouldn't have to be sent back through time. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you'd also, I mean, that probably came into it. Can we change the past to save the future? No, shit. Okay, well, let's just send people back into the past to live. And even if I wonder if they are like pocket realities created by the planet, created by the tech, but then when the planet explodes or dies, whatever, they also die. But because they're all in time dilation fields, because they're in the past, that's just how the travel works. You can live out your entire life guaranteed in that place, and then die, and then do you care if your children who were from a fake reality, like
it opens up a lot of questions, is what it does. Yeah. Trek or Not, though, 2 pounds. Weird Harry Kim Yellowstone runabout episode. We'll get into the Voyager stuff soon. Ish.
And that's shifting reality.
Yes.
Yeah, that's both. That's both and neither. That's always an interesting one to me, though. Always kind of like that one.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's a fun what if, but it kind of feels darker. Hey,
I don't know exactly which one we're talking about off the top of my head.
Hey,
though.
Still not good, but it's still good.
Yeah. Next up is Yesteryear from the animated series. Again, they use the Guardian to deliberately go back in time.
Well, to fix a non-deliberate going back in time, in fairness.
Yes, but they are using it to fix something. So
yes.
Kind of using the Guardian Forever as a time tool.
And also the first example of temporal shielding.
Yeah.
Because they're not erased by it. They are seeing the results of versus the, damn, we best unsquash that butterfly. We hope the future isn't broken, which is actually an interesting example of at least him, that Carl guy, his version of time travel is a single linear universe. He changing stuff in his portal will kill the future. That said, he can also move people into alternate timelines, a la Giorgio, etc. So it's interesting because that's the thing. If you use different ways of traveling through time, there's different rules are applied. His version is the true temporal weapon because you can step through, shoot Hitler, boom, that's universe change, and you'll be fine. So say you bring your entire family onto a planet, go back and destroy X, Y, or Z, and then you come back, it's all fine. The universe is different, but family's still alive. It's like, oh, good, cool. So he's one of those powerful examples of, because he has the ability to be removed from it.
And 63 people here, which is awesome. 47 likes. Get those likes in, guys. Let's get those likes to 60 if we can. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Now, Magic Morgans and Models says, could you say every Star Trek episode is time travel due to the faster than light travel involved? No, because they're bending space around the ship, which doesn't. It's not related to the theory of relativity and time dilation via faster than light travel. So no, you can't.
I say you are a cheeky sir, a cheeky person. You're silly.
Next up is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
It's great.
Again, yep, gotta show how close-minded humans are by let's not make something extinct, because you never know when you might need them.
Well, that's the opposite. That's time travel with we don't care about the consequences, and they never once talk about it, because taking 2 whales, being there, it doesn't do anything. So that actually ignores the principle itself, unless it's going to an alternate past. But that's not what happens there, because things would change. You're taking one person, all the small things, that dinner table, you know.
It was also a predestination paradox, though, because Kirk sold his antique glasses to the antique dealer, who then eventually they found their way to McCoy, who bought them. So if he hadn't sold them to that guy, would McCoy have been able to find them?
You say that, but it can't be, because otherwise someone would have scanned it and it would have been like 10,000 years old. Because it would have kept going forward and back in time. Like the glasses had to be a certain age to, you know what I mean? Someone's scanning at some point, and as soon as you do the event twice, then the materials in the watch would have aged twice and be damaged and be corroded. The glass would now be, so it can't be literally, because it has to be only one. Has to be new pairs of glasses each time to be consistent. I see
what you're saying.
Yeah, but that's why it works for a once, because they are the same glasses and it doesn't matter if they age twice. But it can't just keep repeating, because otherwise the glasses would keep. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is TNG. We'll always have Paris. They several short time loops due to the Mannheim effect.
I mean, that's
it's just a window. Count. Yeah, just a window into like another dimension.
That's a technicality.
Time squared.
That's the multiple Picards, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that's a harsh episode, seeing Patrick so gruesomed up, as if you feel the weight of it. That is a good time travel, and that is a true paradox. You see the fact that the Picard that you find has already seen his thing get killed, and I think it's implied at the end that guy, that version of Picard, also killed other versions of Picard to get back in the pod. So it isn't every new Picard gets in the pod. It's that one Picard keeps killing Picards to get in the pod to try and save it, but because he can't affect it until he gets back to the moment, he's always in a loop of death. But because he doesn't register it, he only senses a few bits of past. Very dark episode. I don't know why. I don't know how they changed it, because I don't remember what changed to stop the loop, unless it's a once only loop, and therefore just because Picard saw himself, he could change what happened, which is fine. I mean, you can have a one loop.
A one loop.
But I've always found that quite dark.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, kind of like a zombified, mummified Picard almost, because he can't talk until he gets closer to his time.
Yeah, because in the horror of knowing you did die 20 minutes from now. Okay. What? Yeah. It's a fun one.
Next up is Yesterday's Enterprise. In my opinion, one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever. And this is an alternate. It's time travel, but it's also an alternate reality because of the time travel.
Well, changes. Yeah. Only the Enterprise C time traveled.
Yes.
So it's actually it almost would have been better to make the episode from their perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then it would be like, well, we're the ones, but by having the other perspective, you kind of live both realities at the same time. So really, it's an alternate universe story that happens to pull something from the past into the story. That's why perspective is important. But the timeline does not get erased because Tasha equals Seela, which is why time echoes can still be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic episode.
Of course, technically speaking, there's timeline A, and the Enterprise C shifts into universe B because it didn't time travel. You shift universes, then that Tasha of universe B went back in time to universe A. So technically, it's not a time echo, because if you look at the way, unless you take it as one timeline, then of course it erased timeline A. And there's only timeline B, and they normally protect it from the erasure. But really, it shifts the universe and then back. So, 2 ways of looking at it. But
temporal mechanics hurt my brain. Stop it.
Yes. But it means you can have echoes from other realities that, in theory, stopped existing. That's what makes it super interesting.
Yep. Next up is Captain's Holiday, where the Vorgon technology and they have visitors from the future.
Yeah.
Who's one of their names was Boratus. Boratus, not Bortus, but Boratus. Not really a time travel episode, in my opinion. The Ox Utat. It's apparently important. But, yeah.
And that's funny, because they can easily not be from the future. That's the joke. They're just some guys that are beaming.
Yeah.
But they are, but they aren't. That's a funny triple bluff kind of one. And again, that's a perspective of it's really the story of two guys going back in time.
Yeah.
But not. Oh,
next up is...
Nice.
Oh. Next up is A Matter of Time. That's with Rasmussen. Steals the time ship and comes to the Enterprise D and starts stealing all their tech to invent it later. Another great episode. I really enjoy that one quite a bit. But yeah, it makes me want to see the original time guy that he killed or found his ship. Like I want to know that story now. But yeah, that's a really good episode of TNG.
And that's doubly interesting because, of course, it's in itself a time travel story of person from past into future, but he already did lots of things to change things. So he's already messed up the timeline enough because you wouldn't think his first inclination would be to pick a random point in the future and steal everything. There'll be other things he's done. So
yeah, exactly.
It's likely that he's a giant, time terrorist, but for profit. Yeah. But of course, if relativity is stopping him, then they can, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really, again, unique. You just had the episode where people from the future came to the past, and then someone from the past come to the future. She's not changing, because if you go into the future, you can't change it, but it can change you.
Yes. Good tea, nice house.
Oh.
Long time no see, by the way. $10. Mir Giorgio knew the future of the prime timeline up until 2068 by having access to the Defiant database, just like Archer did. Disco writers missed an opportunity for temporal time travel stories. Yes. Yeah.
Unless those records were deleted by a coup or something of the ilk. The fact that Defiant was so not used showed that they just didn't care to make that interesting. Obviously, could have showed a Connie and made that really, really fun. We know that the wireframe of that ship wasn't even designed until the episode aired, pretty much. It wasn't...
Yeah, I know.
Some guys threw it together because they thought last minute, so there wasn't any thought behind the thought. Yeah, I mean, real writers could have made that really interesting, but they weren't good writers, so...
Yeah.
But yes, it's true.
Next up, of course, is Cause and Effect, with the USS Bozeman and its crew coming through, a time distortion and causing the Enterprise to loop, because they were, in fact, as well caught in the time distortion. Great episode, and again, it introducing the era we love, the motion picture era aesthetic on screen is great. Seeing the Monster Maroons back, fun episode.
3.7 seconds.
True, but it was a real movie era bridge. It was all in Monster Maroons and complete Monster Maroons with the turtleneck and the belt.
OG people. Yeah, and that one is odd because, of course, it's a time loop from our perspective, but really it is a time travel story, but for Bozeman into the future. Because there's only one time instant. They go into the future and it kills both. It just took a time loop to stop them from killing both, but really then it just happened once. And the once was like time future, fine. And if it hadn't hit an SL, it would have been as easy as an anomaly out. Might have been the same sort of anomaly as USS Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
And do we know why they loop? Is it because of the warp core explosion? Because
I don't know why specifically. No, I don't think that was ever explained.
Because the anomaly's not causing it. Because why would it choose that moment to loop?
It's kind of said that at the end, Picard says you've been stuck in a time loop or something to the Bozeman. But the Bozeman, it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what caused the loop necessarily.
So it'd be fine if the ship exploded caused a loop. That's actually quite a clever way of doing it. That it was the exact same anomaly as Enterprise. And if they'd exploded, it would have also caused some sort of temporal reversion. But then also, why back to that point? Because Yeah.
But again, the best parts about that episode are what came before with the Bozeman and what came after with the Bozeman. I would love to see, what's his name?
Bateson.
Yeah, Bateson beam over and have the conversation with Picard, finding out where they are in the future and, having that conversation. I would love to have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
It's fleshed out in books, but still, that's what intrigues me about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's a good
one. 56 of you here now, which is awesome. 58 likes. Hit the like button. Go vote in the poll as well. We have 58 votes, which is really good, by the way. Next up is Time Zero and Time Zero Part 2 with the Davidians. Yeah.
And of course, Data's head being in the past, Picard,
and
Logic, Blair. Because that's a tricky one, because that, if they were there, then they were there. And of course, Guinan did know Picard from that event. So that Guinan was affected by a time loop. So time was changed. But it was always changed. So in that particular time instant, but then obviously the question then being, as with all these time travel things, if somebody else changed the Enterprise D's journey 2 days before, they never went back to the Davidians, that means a Guinan would instantly forget about the event and her life would be changed because both are then stopped. Unless a time echo is created, meaning because the first time someone did travel back in time, they still exist there because they're now out of that timeline, they're now the past timeline. And then Guinan would be like, wow, that time at the Davidians, and she's like, walks past it, like, oh, it never happened. What? But on this star date, I was...
Yeah.
That'd be very confusing to think that your past no longer happened in the present, but it happened in the past from a time echo. That is mad. Because of course, if you start changing time, then that will be one of the first things to get hit by that. Things had to be in a perfect arrangement. The Enterprise had to be built on the right day, launched on the same day. The crew had to be there on the right day to be sent back in time to meet Guinan. All this stuff with Picard and whatnot would all change something, stop it from happening, then change other stuff. So it's, yeah.
Next up is arguable, but Tapestry. Picard thought that the time travel might have been an illusion created by Q, but it was like an alternate reality.
Yeah.
What if?
I would disagree. That's time travel.
Yeah.
It's a god creating fake universes. I mean, that's literally the premise of it.
Yeah. Next up is Timescape. That's with the temporal fragment, Enterprise D and the Romulan Warbird, and the runabout that entered the fragment.
But it's not time travel, it's time freezing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
There's not time
I'm
travel.
Just mentioning all the time ones.
Time ones, yes.
Yeah. So,
although, of course, from the perspective of Beverly getting shot, she travelled, 6 days into the future. Because time is relative, right? So they all time travelled, our characters didn't. They went to a seminar and was time travelled because time travelled slowly in his lecture, which kept going slower and slower the time Daly should feel of his talking.
Yeah.
But guys, check your thoughts. What's your favourite time travel story? Yeah, can everyone just put in their favourite time travel story for $1? I'd love to see if there's what wins that. Because there's so many good ones. Put in your favourite one, $1 super chat, or $2, whatever you need minimum. Let us know what you think. I'd love to know if there's a consensus. Spam the chat!
The next one that's listed is Firstborn. It's an Alexander Rozhenko one.
Future Alexander comes back.
Yeah.
And that's tricky because he's literally trying to erase his own timeline. He's trying to change the past. F the consequences. He's endgaming it. That's a really good one, actually, because that's a hell of a twist. He's a really good actor in the role. Yeah, that one's a dark one when you think about it.
That one, I honestly say I can't remember that well.
It's good, yeah. And they kill Colony and you get, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we haven't got to it in our reviews yet.
He killed his own timeline.
Yeah.
Ballsy.
Yeah. And of course, last for TNG is All Good Things, which...
Yes.
Wow, to go back and see the beginning of the 7-year journey and then also see the future of what could be. There's a lot going on with that, and it's excellent 2 sets of episodes.
And technically not time travel, because Q shifts his consciousness between 3 of his bodies.
Yes.
So
it's time travel to Picard, because he's
but its brain he is not traveling. His consciousness is moving because he is all 3 Picard. There's no he's living all 3 versions.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing. If he's time traveling, then as soon as the Picard brain leaves the Picard brain in the future, that future brain will still do stuff, but then he doesn't have the memories of.
Yeah.
So he has to, because or is that kind of misdirection? Is really Picard living all 3 at the same time and talking to himself? But that would make a lot of the edits not work, because he wouldn't have to communicate with his other selves. He would do it at the same time. Ooh, that doesn't work, does it?
I think it's all a mute point at the end of the episode. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's Q that's generating his ability to shift between bodies. So it's a God-created time thing, and we know that the future version is a fake reality anyway, because it gets killed and it gets erased. So,
Yeah. Next up on the list, they have Star Trek Generations because of the Nexus scene, but it's.
Oh, Kirk time traveled.
Kirk time traveled back to cutting wood and making.
Well, no, that was in the Nexus.
Eggs.
He traveled forward into a deer.
Oh yeah. Actually, you're right. Yeah.
But boring. He went to a mountain and died. I mean, just shitty. I mean, it's really shitty.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It wasn't time travel. It was just a stasis. He was in stasis in the Nexus, essentially.
Well, no, he was out of time because he was still living. He lived 1,000 lifetimes, then didn't. He never got to see Lady. Why the hell did they break Carol Marcus? It was so great to see her voice. Stupid.
Yeah.
Yes, Benjamin. Pretty great.
Next up is Star Trek First Contact. The Borg traveling back in time. And,
they made the NX-01, potentially.
Yes. Deviant timeline.
Oh, nice, Ted S. From what it was called. And Stuart, not a single person told me their favourite time travel episode, just by asking.
I think people were saying it in the regular chat.
That's what I'm saying. No one even.
Oh.
It's also Groundhog Day. Not even normal people said. Sir, no, that was the Time's Arrow. That's 1 and 2.
All right, so next up we jump into DS9. We've got Past Tense, Part 1 and 2. Not a band account, $2. Discovery introduced Fate to Pike, Magic, and Trek. Yeah, we'll get there. We're doing these in order they were released, obviously.
Yes.
Matthew DeFrida's $2. Favorite is Trials and Tribulations. Yeah, it's a good one. For sure.
Well, it's going between 2 amazing eras.
So Past Tense. Oh yeah, that's where they're sent back to the Bell Riots. And Cisco, Gabriel Bell dies, and Cisco has to take his place so that the events can still unfold. And I love how that comes back later in Little Green Men when they're on their way to Earth, which is another time travel episode. They're like, look at this human. Doesn't he look like Benjamin Sisko, this Gabriel Bell? All humans look alike.
Forgot about that. Yeah, good use of the premise. Yeah, that's the reverse of Synergy Forever, time travel to the past, but the future of us. So for them, it's the same exact concept, but for us, it's entirely different. I've heard Picard season 2 had used that premise at all, and they could have had Avery could have thrown him buckets of money and had a voice cameo, and I was said at the time, but if they'd only had them meeting up, we have no tech in this past, but we know that Jadzia Dax is a tricorder in this building 3 blocks away. And they go and see Terry, and she looks a bit older, but she looks great. Hang a lantern on it is fine, and they just say, and then they just deal with Jadzia as Jadzia. It's like, even though she died 20 years ago, here she is alive there. That would be great. That would have been the cleverest. Who cares about Laris, fake Laris? No, that would have been.
Well. Yeah, and then you got Kira and Miles beaming down to different times to find them, and they only had a certain number of transports they could do. So they went to like the 60s, and they met the hippies, and so yeah, there's some good stuff in that one. Next up is Visionary. That's the one where Miles O'Brien is seeing visions of the future.
That's a very dark one.
And he sees himself, and like can actually literally see himself.
That's a very clever one. It's very simple and very dark.
Yeah.
Because the radiation is killing him, so he chooses to keep doing it despite. And then if you watch it, you do live the events of the scenes you previously saw, so they had to then write the whole thing before they went back and shot it.
Yeah.
And that's fun. And to see him work with himself, despite one of them living the same scene, it's a very grounded time travel episode. And I think there's a great actor for it, because he's grumpy, and it's a shitty thing to live through.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel it. I realized recently, just because I was doing, like, I was at the studio, which takes a while, I was like, oh, I just watched DS9, oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
The Visitor is next. That's the one where Jake Sisko gets old. His dad is killed in an accident, but he's actually just slingshotting through time, attached to Jake, essentially. So yes, it is time travel, but then it all gets null and void at the end because they kind of reset it. So,
well, it's alternate universe, and then reset. Because it's not time travel for anyone except Benjamin. But he's not the perspective character. So it's actually a present story in the future. Yeah.
Very good story though.
Now it would have been really cool had they done the gimmick of old Jake meeting young Jake in the past. Then it would have been Endgame before Endgame.
Yeah.
Like having to go back, because we've done that. That's definitely been done before, where the future version of yourself has to go back and stop the incident that caused the problem, but in doing so they die, and therefore making it a net zero, except they've stopped the person from dying, the person they went to save. But that would have been way too action-y for what is a very simple... Because he injects himself at the start of the story, doesn't he? He's dying throughout the entire episode, and then he dies. So the whole episode is a foregone conclusion. That's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Next
up is Little Green Men, one of my favorites, where the Ferengi ship is essentially the Roswell alien spacecraft. And it's funny because the general in that, the 5-star general with the cigar, he's the same. He's one of the space hippies from TOS Way to Eden. So in one he's like, yay, brother, peace. And the next one he's a warmongering general, which is great.
That's just comedy for pure comedy-ness.
Yeah, but it was so well done, though. I like the idea of the universal translators not working, so they're hearing the different languages, and yeah, it's a really great episode.
And it's one of those ones where by uniquely throwing the characters into a point in the past where we know whatever happened there is classified, and we know it never got past it, shows that therefore they can now do whatever the hell they want because they'll never get out. It's like there's a subplot in Loki where they express that you can go do big time travel bullshit things in places where you are gets destroyed, leaving no survivors. So you can go do a giant thing in Pompeii because, of course, it doesn't matter if you blow up 6 buildings in Pompeii because it all gets blown up and everyone thinks it got blown up. So it's a very unique format for that, where it doesn't matter if you change stuff because you haven't, because it's classified.
Yeah. Not a band account. $2. DS9 episode was inaccurate, too small, low tech.
Okay. Oh, he means Star Trek. The Enterprise was not the Stranger Worlds Enterprise. He's making a joke. Yes, it was accurate. Yes.
Jonesy07, 2 pounds. Looking forward to you reviewing Timescape.
Oh yeah, did you skip the ones yet? It's a TNG episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't.
Because that's not the joke I think he's making.
No, they're all listed here, and that's... I don't see that. What the hell?
Yeah, that's the... See, I thought you were making a time loop joke, but that was the one... That was the time...
oh, yeah, we talked about that.
Roundabout one.
Yeah, we talked about that. We kind of glazed over it a bit, because it's like a time sliver.
Yeah, there's no time travel except for the people in the loop and the freeze.
Next up is Ascension. Profitability. Let's see.
Don't know that one.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you've skipped past the one where Molly goes into the future.
We haven't got there yet.
That's after Visitor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're on our rewatch of Deep Space Nine right now. We just started season 5 and we still haven't seen it yet. So yes.
All right. I guess there's 2 kids. Or,
Yeah.
well, but I always thought that was like a weird season 2 episode. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, okay then.
All right. So next up is Ascension, which is the light ship comes through inside of. Oh, that's with the prophet Akram Lan, who disappeared 200 years ago, and just comes through the
temporal anomaly.
Now, he was supposed to be the original prophet, but not, because when they talked to the wormhole aliens, they basically said time's not linear. You weren't meant to be the. That's why we returned you when we did, because Cisco was supposed to be. Yeah. Interesting idea on that one.
Yeah, another whole episode reversal of the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so you got you know, you took her job, in essence.
Yeah.
You know, who's the real one? Because obviously a Bajora Messiah is far easier to follow than a Federation one. But his path is strong, so don't worry.
Yeah. Trials and Tribulations. This is just great because of Arn Darvin, Orb of Time, shenanigans, but yeah, just classic Trek. So
and I'm sure Classic Friel loves it too because it is classic.
Next up is Children of Time. That's the one you were talking about, Molly.
Also quite a dark one.
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not the one. That's not the one. Sorry. Children of Time is when the DS9 or Defiant crashes and their descendants.
Also quite a dark one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously the big payoff seeing Odo. Good casting by the other people. And yeah, I mean, they killed an entire planet by not letting themselves get killed. Damn.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that, yeah, again, time is non-linear. Therefore, the instant happened in the split second that the instant happened because they got sent back in time and lived their lives. But it happened 4 seconds ago. No, it didn't. It didn't. Same thing with E squared and Enterprise. You meet the people that become your descendant. It's actually the same story, isn't it, really? You meet your descendants.
It is.
Because they've already done the whole thing that involved them being here. And it's kind of, in a sense, the reverse of Bill and Ted. You know, in the future, we'll put the big trash bag here, trash bins, that we can do a thing. But we've got to remember to go forward and do this. As in, when we're forward, go back. As long as we do, it's fine.
Next is Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. That's where Kira has to seek the emissary's approval to go back in time to find out the truth about her mother. So her mother and Gul Dukat are a thing, and she goes back and meets her mother. Yeah. It's just because of the Orb of Time. Again, another one of those. So
I have no memory of that at all. Cool. Well, I haven't seen.
Next up is Time's Orphan. That's the one with Molly, where she's basically trapped and becomes older. Just time displacement. Yeah.
Although, don't they? But it isn't because of course Molly grabs herself and hands herself the time portal.
Yeah.
So it isn't because she.
Sure, but it's time travel related.
Yeah. Time related. It's more complicated than that because other things happen in it. Great casting on the lady. Really good casting. Yeah, really good.
Next up is The Sound of Her Voice, which isn't really time travel. They're just hearing a delayed message, but it's a fantastic episode.
Well, no, that's not true because it is time travel. The message are traveling through time. It's not delayed because it's real time. It's a time travel message. It's not delayed.
It's a distortion from the source of the signal to them.
Well, it's
just the signal being distorted. Yeah.
Like they're just talking through a time portal, but a time portal that is only able to do comm. Yeah, really harsh. I mean, that is such a gut punch episode.
Yeah.
And I think even the second time you watch it, it's just as hard. It's like, yeah, Yun Bashir is such a nice thing.
So now we're done DS9. Now we're into Voyager.
Ha.
So we don't want to talk too much about these because we got to. just summarize them real quick. But first up is Parallax. Define tensions between the merged Starfleet and Maquis crew when they find another ship caught within a quantum singularity. After establishing communication with the craft,
that's a good one.
They discover the ship in distress is Voyager itself.
Oh no, that's not what I thought. Oh yeah, decent. I thought it was the one with the Romulan guy. Yeah, that's fine. That's an okay one. More of a temporal paradoxy one, but yes.
Yeah. Time and Again is next. They discover a planet with suffering a horrific catastrophe. Yeah, upon investigation, Janeway and Paris are sent back in time. Yes, yeah, with the watch or the clock.
But they do save the planet, I believe.
I don't recall.
I think they do.
Eye of the Needle. And that's the one with the Romulan ship.
That one's a really, really solid one.
Yeah, the 54 years in Voyager's past, essentially, they're talking to this Romulan and the
idea that there are some nice, mean sound, but some nice Romulans that they would convince this pretty, well-ranking security guy. It's like, no, trust us, but all the tech and stuff. No, that's a really good one. The first season has some good episodes, and people shit on the first season of Voyager. It's so much better than the first season of DS9. I'm sorry, it is. But it's a better idea, isn't it?
Death Wish. With the other Q, who's I guess brings Riker.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, I guess technically
brings some historic figures.
Erases their memories, so it's a technical, but yeah.
Next up is Future's End.
Oh, I burned through a couple of seasons there, didn't we? Huh.
Well, yeah, there's not many.
There was more based on that. I don't love it. It's good. It's decent.
Yeah, that's with Henry Starling. Yeah, okay. That's the two-parter. Yeah.
It's fun they have to commit to the
since
universe.
1996.
Yeah, but they take into account the previous episodes of Trek a bit and hang the lanterns on it.
And then we get Before and After, which is the Kess moving through moments in her thing. So
pretty great. Like in terms of like dark and effective.
Year of Hell. Oh, wait a minute. No, Timeless is next.
One of the all-time best. Because the weight of that is just huge. And they never lived to know if they succeeded. Or they wouldn't have lived because it would have been erased unless they hadn't been, but yeah.
That's a really fantastic one.
The acting.
That visual as well of the Voyager under the ice is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and not just that, but 709's head. Guys, super check your thoughts. I don't know a while, so be part of the conversation.
Yeah, let us know what you think about these episodes, guys. We're almost, I don't know if we're almost done. We're getting there. Next up is Relativity. That's with Captain Braxton and
excellent.
The whole thing. Fantastic episode, yeah.
The episode where Janeway's hair proves to be the single point of knowing where you are in time.
Yeah. Fury is next. That's one of the Kess ones. Angry old Kess.
That's what I meant was really good. Or like from a structural point of view.
Yeah. Shattered is next, which is and isn't time travel. Just different
time rift.
Time segments. Yeah. Really good one though. Really enjoyable episode of Voyager. And last for Voyager would be Endgame, which is pretty good.
And you've kind of got time travel with blink of an eye, where the planet's going faster because as soon as the guy as the guy goes into the Voyager and goes back, he's now traveled in time to his own planet.
That's a great episode too.
That's very early.
It's not even listed on
here.
So
I found a technical one.
Yes,
absolutely. Some of those count. That one certainly counts because he turned time travels.
Yeah.
Endgame's great. Yeah, really good. But it's interesting. When we watch this list, there are several erase your own timeline on purpose events.
Yeah. So now into Enterprise, we got Cold Front. First
I mean, a lot of time travel stuff, let's be honest. It's going to be quite a long list.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about them all necessarily, but it's a cold front.
But it's all the same sort of stuff. A lot of it's the same story, time travel-wise.
Shockwave.
Because technically, every single episode with the future guy is a time travel episode.
Sure. But yeah, Shockwave. Future Tense. Just trying to think which one that is.
The one that I quite like is they go into the past and they see the evil hologram from Voyager.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. That's a fun one. Time travel doesn't exist, except we're here, T'Pol. Well, yeah. Like, proof? That one's fun. Really gritty. Zati Prime, of course, with the going into the...
Carpenter Street.
That's not time travel at all. That's 0% time travel.
Archer and T'Pol travel back in time to Detroit in 2004 to stop 3 Xindi reptilians from constructing a bioweapon.
Oh, isn't Carpenter Street the one where T'Pol talked about her own grandmother?
No.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. No, that wasn't time travel.
The Zodi Prime.
Mm-hmm. It's good. For the one scene.
Yeah. Then E Squared.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. It's seeing the descendants of the crew.
I mean, our heroes don't time travel, but our heroes time travel.
Yeah.
Yes.
0 Hour. Archer takes Jagger's ship to try to prevent Earth from being destroyed and gets some unexpected help. Enterprise tries to destroy Sphere 41, but the Sphere builders know about the plan.
If you say so.
Not ringing a bell for me, sorry.
Nope.
Stormfront parts 1 and 2. That's beginning of season 4. It's after the destruction of the Xindi weapon, 1944, with Nazi aliens.
Weird. Commitment to the bit, but not particularly good.
Yeah. And they also have Inamir Darkly. It's not, well, it is. It's different timelines meeting up on a different curve of different universes.
The Defiant time travels into another universe. I mean, time and space, you can do both and or, yeah.
Then we got Star Trek 09. Armada and all of that.
Well, Spock travels in time.
And then we get into the really good stuff. Star Trek Discovery. Magic to make the Sainth Man go mad. Probably one of the best episodes of Discovery, in my opinion, where Harry Mudd uses a time crystal to kill Lorca like 75 different times.
Yeah, time loop.
Yeah.
So.
What is past is prologue. 9 months later, I don't know. Mycelial network jump.
Oh yeah, that's right at the end. Yeah, that's fine.
The Red Angel. But yeah, Perpetual Infinity. Don't know what these episodes are about. I don't have synopsis for these ones. Such Sweet Sorrow. That Hope Is You, Part 1. Terra Firma, Part 1 and 2. I'm reading the list. Terra Firma is the Guardian of Forever, it says. So.
Oh, I was thinking. Oh yeah, I was thinking Terra Nova from Enterprise. I'm still on Enterprise train.
And we get Assimilation, the crew of the La Serena, slingshot effect.
Yeah.
Farewell, Quality of Mercy. Yeah, they just glaze over. Glaze over.
Well, everything that season's time travel, right? So
yeah. And then Quality of Mercy, it's Strange New Worlds. No, wait a minute. Quality of Mercy is still Discovery. Is it? No, Quality of Mercy is Strange New Worlds. Yeah. Then Those Old Scientists. Ha! There's a great one. And then the last one is Face the Strange, which is the last season one where they jump through all Discovery's time, which is pretty great, actually. So yeah, there's that's it. I mean, might be other instances in there that just isn't in this list, but
some in there aren't necessarily listable either. So there's a pretty broad spectrum.
Pretty
All right,
comprehensive.
what's next on the agenda then?
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll close out this poll. Which series did time travel the best? We got TNG with 39%.
Huh.
Voyager at 27%. DS9 at 20%, and TOS at 14%.
Huh.
I don't know if I agree with those results.
I would have said Voyager because TNG is not known for time travel.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that we talked about them, they're all more subtle, I guess, or loopy, and Voyager's more, like, let's go back into the past. TNG didn't really do that.
Yeah.
Not as much. Okay.
So yeah, now we'll just. What are some of your favorite time travel episodes that we just went through?
Yep. Some your thoughts.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, it's definitely Yesterday's Enterprise, Trial and Tribulations, All Good Things.
Yeah, my list would be far broader than that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to just nail one or two down, honestly.
Well, you're also going on best story over best time travel episode, which is fair. Which is fair, of course, but there can be some more clever use of time travel. Like I said, the one with O'Brien seeing himself is cleverer than this Enterprise, because that's just they went to another universe. That's it. There's nothing else to that, right? That had a lot more in it as a time travel piece.
Yeah. Oh, Raj, yeah, that wasn't even on the list. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. This is, I guess, not an updated list, even though it's Memory Alpha.
And also, you mentioned Discovery, the last Discovery one, so it was updated.
Yeah, but tomorrow and tomorrow wasn't on the list, so
yeah,
that's a great one as well. Yeah, there's lots of great ones. Cause and Effect, of course. I really do enjoy Assignment Earth, and yeah. So,
but there really should be some clarity between time travel and time shenanigans.
Yeah.
Because if I go back 5 seconds, it's a time travel episode. It's like, well, yeah, but. I mean, yeah, but. Right?
Yeah.
That but's quite important there.
Anyway,
right.
I think we will call it there. Because honestly, there's other things, but yeah. Anyway, Mark Lawrence, $5. Did we skip the recent crossover of Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds? No, we mentioned those old scientists. We did mention it. Just didn't talk about it very much.
Also a Paradoxian one, because obviously by going back, he will change their. And obviously he does. He changes Spock's dealing with whatever.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you for watching. And hopefully you had a good time with us. If not, go back and rewind it. Watch it again. Dude, it's like time travel that way. But
or frozen time, anyway.
Yeah. We will leave it at that for now. And thank you so much, guys, for watching. Tune in next time we're around, which will be next week. We'll see you then. So until then.
All right.
He's Commander Cockins.
He is Captain Foley. And that is 3 people in all red costumes, which I find amusing.
Yes, indeed.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.